This is Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nik and Moiz. Let's start talking about money. Limited Supply listeners should think about adding a mobile app to their marketing mix. Mobile apps can be customized by Tapcart, and they can improve your retention strategy and make your customers stickier. And it'll provide a really smooth way for customers to shop online, and it's the best way to engage customers wherever they are. Limited Supply listeners can get 2 months free at tapcart.com/limited.
All right, we're back for episode 6 of Limited Supply Season 3. Today's a special one because we don't have your typical direct-to-consumer founder. We've got Mary Berry, who's been mentioned on the pod at least a handful of times.
Yeah, that's right.
Mary is the secret behind tons of different brands, large and small, brands that you probably use at home that are in your bathroom or in your house. And Mary is also just one of the funniest, most genuine, straightforward, and candid, and heartwarming person to be around.
Oh my God,
and,
stop.
I met Mary.
I can't cry at the beginning.
4 years ago through Moiz.
Yeah.
You guys met 4 years ago?
Well,
okay.
We went to Rumble one morning and you were like, oh, Mary's in town. Have you met Mary? And I was like, no, but I've heard of Texas Beauty Labs. They did our Hint deodorant and toothpaste and sunscreen. Mm-hmm. And you were like, oh, okay, I'll set you up. We got matcha, Cha-Cha Matcha.
Yes, I remember.
Yep. And that's how we met. And then, we've just been friends since then, and you've known Mary much longer.
Yeah. Wait, you guys made Hint sunscreen? You guys could not have made
No, I'm sorry, not the Hint sunscreen. Okay. I was like, it's just the deodorant.
I was like, what?
Yeah, just totally.
So, Mary, you and I met in 2015.
Was it?
8 years ago almost.
Okay, wow.
And it was right after this problem I'd had with my first contract manufacturer at Native, who was sort of like, hey, I've enjoyed working with you, Moiz, but she was making me 500 sticks of deodorant a week, and she's like, this is getting to be too much. I want to stop doing this, so go transition to somebody else. And then, I basically Googled around, and at some point I got in touch with you or with your sales associate. And somebody said, at Texas Beauty Labs, the MOQ is 80 units.
80 units.
And I was like,
remember that.
Yeah, I remember it because I was like, wow, I can actually hit it. Other people were like, it's 500 or 5. The people were like, it's 5,000. I was like, okay, maybe I can do it. At 80, I was like, I'm already past this. And then all these other contract manufacturers I'd spoken with as well were like, it's probably October or November of 2015 that I was doing this. Yes. And I was like, when can you get me deodorant? And they're like, we could get you your first batch in 6 to 12 months. And I was like, 6 to 12 months is are you crazy? I'll be dead.
I'll be dead. Exactly. Yeah. I'm always like, I'm going to be dead by then.
Yeah. And when I called you guys up, you're like, we can do it in 6 weeks. And I was like, okay, here's somebody who can do business with.
Yeah.
And
we
that's how
busy.
That's how you were very busy. So let's start with Texas Beauty Labs. Yep. You started it in 2006. Is that right?
Well, it's a blur, honestly. I think about 2007. Yeah.
And so Texas Beauty Labs is a contract manufacturer. And for people who don't know what contract manufacturers are, can you tell everyone what they are?
Yeah. So we make stuff for other people. So like we don't have a line that's like Texas Beauty Labs or Cosmos Labs or anything. It's we make other people's products, and like they send us the packaging, we put it in the packaging, and that's what we do.
And specifically, you make personal care and beauty products for other people. You're not bottling Hint water. You're bottling Hint deodorant.
Hint deodorant. That's correct.
One further clarification. So you're basically the assembler, right? So you buy raw materials from other places. Like this morning we were talking about fragrance. So you buy a fragrance, you buy the coconut base, whatever it is, and then you guys put it together, put it into packaging, and then ship it off.
That's right. And we have we also do product development. So we do the chemistry behind it. Back then we weren't really doing that. It was me being like, I think this will probably work, you guys. And I'd read a book about homemade, crafting with a K, and that's how I was figuring it out.
Yeah. Personally, that may be the best book that you've ever gotten in terms of return. That's amazing.
Honestly, yeah.
Okay. So you're working you started Texas Beauty Labs in 2006. I remember I've been to that facility. I think that you started it at, or like certainly was early in your career.
That was the third facility.
That was the third facility.
The first facility, we shared a fence with a donkey and a horse.
Wow.
And a mobile home.
And a mobile home.
Yeah, I don't live in a mobile home.
Okay. No. I know it was your donkey and horse. Because I feel like it would be your donkey and horse.
It wasn't. I did visit it every day, though.
You did? Okay.
I did. Yeah.
So when I saw you guys
animal testing?
Yeah.
Was it for what? Animal testing?
Yeah, I'm like, can we reach the donkey? Then I rubbed it in his eye. I did not. No, I don't do that.
Peter's not going to be happy with this.
I know.
You started this facility. So in 2015, you're in your third facility. It's in Pflugerville, Texas. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the clients that you're making product for that you can talk about from back then? Or tell me some of the products you were making if you can't talk about
I mean, I can always, there's a few that I can talk about because I'm friends with. Yeah. So like Milk and Honey, like they're a spa in Austin. Now
all over Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all over Austin now. Yeah. At that time, I think they only had like one location. I think it was just the one location. And then now they're like, she's expanding crazy. But like we started making the products for like the spa back bar. So like that was really our one big client. We had other random things that were like, gosh, I can't even remember, but we were making 80 things. So like imagine like we were not doing very well at that point. I have lots of stories about how we're not doing well and things I had to sell. Yeah. To make that company work.
Yeah. You've told me some of those stories where you're like,
we should talk about that.
Yeah. Give me an example of one of the things you had to sell. I think it was a car, right?
It was a car. So like I finally we'd gotten enough money where like I bought an old Mercedes. I grew up just like normal, like in really like middle class, maybe even lower middle class. But I always wanted a Mercedes. I bought it. And then we got to a point in the business where you didn't have enough money for payroll and I had to sell it. That is like still like one of the most heartbreaking things I ever had to do because it was like, it wasn't about the car. It was like the emotional, like I've made it, you guys. I have this old ass Mercedes. But then I had to sell it because I got like too big for my britches.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the car.
It wasn't the car. I had to pawn my wedding ring like, I don't know, 10. I mean, like at least 10 times. I really think 20.
Yeah.
My husband pawned his like college ring. I used to say we almost foreclosed on our house, but Chase the other day was like, we did foreclose on our house. And I was like, what? And like, I don't know if it went through the full thing, but like it was all to make payroll because I had to have people, we had 9 employees and I had to like pay them. And so that was my priority. I obviously wasn't getting paid, right? But like that was my priority. My husband worked at Dell. He was an engineer and we didn't have money. We didn't have any investments. Like I actually don't still to this day take investments because it's not my thing. Mm-hmm. I like to make my own money. And so all the money we had was money that Chase made working at Dell as an electrical engineer at like, I don't know, $75,000 a year. And so like we were negative for, I think 8 years. Well, until Moiz came along.
That's a long time.
It was a long time.
You have so much risk appetite, like more than anybody I've actually ever met.
That's impressive.
And I think is in the most unhealthy way I could possibly imagine. I'm like,
I'm fine.
I'm going to preface this by saying you and I are friends that have known each other for a long time, but it's the most unhealthy thing I ever. Like after I see Mary, I go back and I'm like, I need to cut a lot of my expenses because this is crazy.
No, my goal in life, just FYI for everyone, is like I just take care of my guys. I have a lot of people like you guys, and I'm always like, have you taken care of your girlfriends? Are we going on vacations? Because I want you guys to spend more money.
Yeah, for context, before we started recording, Mary's question was, what are you guys doing for Valentine's Day tomorrow?
I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But I do have, I honestly think that I built my business on spite. People think I couldn't do it. They thought I was like making like shit out of my house, which I was for a while. But like they thought it wasn't legit. And I was like, fuck them. I'm going to make this legit. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work until it, and luckily my husband is like the best person who ever like lived, and he just kept being like, sure, we'll keep doing it. Sure, we'll keep doing it. I had close friends. I had people I trusted be like with tears in their eyes because they know how much I worked. You really need to quit this business. This is really like pulling your family down. I had kids even when they were little. Yeah. It was still pulling my family down. And I just was like, no, I know I can do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've never met someone so motivated by spite then.
I know. Well, I'm still motivated by spite today.
Me too.
I know. It still works. But like that is my number one motivating factor. It's my number one motivating factor.
I think that you say that, but I don't believe you actually. Because like when we were building Native together, you were like, this is so much fun. We're going to do new things and make amazing products. You got to grow your business.
Yeah, that's true.
And you had all these people that relied on you for work, and you got to organize the team.
That's true.
You never missed a deadline, and you were not missing deadlines because of spite from me. You were like,
that's true.
I want to make great products. And I remember, this. So let me go back and tell a story. You and I started working together in like October 2015.
Mm-hmm.
In like, you didn't fly on airplanes at the time.
Oh no, I had severe agoraphobia. That's a whole other thing. But for like 10 years of my life, I didn't leave my house.
Well,
you're like,
I saw you at the factory. You would still go to work.
I still go to work, but like I had safe places I would go.
Yeah. So like one time you drove up to San Francisco. I was working out at Tiny Co's office.
You were.
You came and visited on like a Tuesday, and Nick, I'm not sure if I've told you this story. This is the first time I think I met Mary in person or something like that. And we started talking about Native and how things are going. And she's in San Francisco for like 2 or 3 days because she drove up there. So she can't just meet me and like drive right out, right? Yeah, from Texas.
Oh my God. Wow. Arizona is the worst place to drive through. Just FYI. Like it's really long.
And so then the next day, our fulfillment factory is in Oakland. And I rented a zip card, went to Oakland, and I started looking at our deodorants. And, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm the only employee at the company. I'm sort of just messing around. And I opened up a few and I was like, something looks a little bit off here. Mm-hmm. And so I put my finger in them and like, instead of deodorant being solid, which it should be, it sort of felt like lotiony. I could push my finger all the way to the bottom of the deodorant. Mm-hmm. And, that's not how deodorant should be. Yeah. And so Mary is still in town. And so I texted her or called her or something. And I was like, hey, I think there's a problem with the deodorant. I'm bringing a bunch of samples. Can we meet again tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And so she says yes. She comes to Tiny Co's office again. And I'm like, here are 4 sticks of deodorant. Check them out. And she sees the same problem. And she calls up her factory within like the 30 seconds of seeing this problem. And it's like, you guys need to stop production right now. Mm-hmm. There's a problem. We don't know what the problem is. Everyone stopped working at this factory. And we're probably producing 500 units of deodorant a day at this point, maybe even more than that. Yeah. Because the business is around $100K a month. Mm-hmm. And we've been working on a new formula for the deodorant for a while. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were deciding between like version 7 and version 8 of these two formulas. Mm-hmm. And we ended up going with version 7 because of like a little bit of simplicity in the formula. There was no jojoba oil, I think it was, or maybe it was avocado oil or something. And so we're like, okay, both of these look like we think they're good. I thought like, the difference of 0.01% or 0.1% of formula would make a difference, and it really doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up going with version 7. And, that was on a Wednesday that we decided, hey, we can't produce any more deodorants. And either Friday or Monday, we were starting to produce version 7.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Like we had completely changed, and like it was a dramatic difference in the formula. Yep. We had completely changed the entire formula in 48 or 72 hours or, something to that effect.
We still do that today.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Because like, right, if it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. And I'm going to stop. Like I have very long-term relationships and I am like lockstep with people. Yeah. Like I take it more seriously that I'm making your product or your product than if it was mine. It's like, it's way more like, I guess, important to me that everything that goes out under anyone's name is perfect. Every last one.
Yeah. And that's how I know it wasn't spite. Because she was like, I got to come in here and actually, like, I want to make this better.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think that spite is the only thing that
funny. At that same meeting, I walked out, and I never think about things like this. I walked out of that building. I still remember where I was. I walked out of that building, and I thought, I'm going to make $1 million. And I don't know why, because like I don't think about money that much. That's not like I love money. We're sure we'll talk about that later. But like that's not my motivating factor for like things like this. But I thought this is it. This is how like I felt it. Like I'm like intuitive, right? So I felt it in my bones. Like I was like, this is it. Like we've got it. We've got it squared away. This guy knows what he's doing. I didn't know what you were doing with the deodorants for a long time. Yeah. Because you're selling so many, and I'd never worked with anyone selling so many of one thing. I was like, is he sending them overseas? Like, what's happening?
You asked me that. I was like, just because I'm an immigrant doesn't mean I'm sending these things back to Pakistan.
I didn't know where. I didn't know what overseas, but I was like, what is happening? And then the person in charge of your account was like, I'm not going to ask him. And I was like, okay, we'll just keep making them. Like,
Yeah. I think you guys thought it was money laundering or drugs. Although I'm not sure how you money launder
or
by
put
buying
drugs
products.
in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Drugs would look great.
this was a
Right,
short.
yeah.
I mean,
Cut
this
out the
was
middle,
like
put some drugs in there.
Yeah, that's right,
put some
yeah.
drugs in there. I mean, I was
Instead of baking soda, could you put this cocaine in?
yeah. I'm gonna send you a social. I mean, I was putting drugs in it, but like, yeah, no, you weren't. No, I was.
No, yeah, there were no drugs, and I remember that because at one point you did have a conversation with me.
I did.
And you're like, where is all this going? And I was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And you're like, what are you doing with all this deodorant? I'm like,
I'm
selling them.
it.
What do you think I could possibly
I
be doing
know.
with thousands of sticks of deodorant?
I know. I did not know. And I was like, is he storing them in a factory just like waiting to sell them? Like, I had no idea. It really perplexed me. Only for a few days and then I moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the great things that we did together was like new scents all the time at Native,
Yes.
where like we would try and launch seasonal scents. And you were really good at being like, we're going to find scents that we think will fit your profile and your customer.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with other working with fragrance houses and contract manufacturers to do that. They're generally far less proactive than you were, where you're like, I made a scent. I'm going to mail it to you tomorrow. Tell me what you think of it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, what scent do you want? What, like, you were like, this is going to be a good scent for the product. And
Yeah.
I felt like you were proactive about it.
Yeah.
A lot of other people in your industry are reactive, and maybe even reactive is a bad word. Completely.
Not active.
Yeah, exactly. Not active is the right word. Yeah.
We like had this
words.
conversation this morning.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys like for long weekend. I'm not allowed to talk about this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So for long weekend, like we're sitting there, we had breakfast this morning, and like I was like, I'm trying to like I try not to be like I don't like this scent. Like
Yeah.
I try to be like nice about it.
First of all, coming from Mary, to hear her hold back something, I'm like, no. I want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I know,
because Mary has all the expertise.
Yeah, she
That's
barely
true.
holds back. It's not
barely.
like you can see it on her face pretty easily.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
I know.
I remember in Austin too. You were
okay.
holding back from like you were like
I was.
you wanted to say we should cut all shampoo, conditioner,
Yes, I did.
and most body wash, and
Yeah.
you were like trying to say it.
I didn't
was like,
want to
Mary,
be a
just say it.
dick.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I don't want to
okay.
be a dick about it. Well, so then like
Did you guys do that? Did you guys?
We
cut all
did it,
those
yeah,
products?
right there.
yeah, we
decided.
did. Well, and I like had prepped myself to be like, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to give Nick a big pep talk. We're going to be like, these are great. This is when he came in and he wanted the same thing. And I was like, this is great. But like this morning, we're talking about fragrances and I was like, you know what we need to do? I want long weekend to have the most elevated fragrances. I want it to feel like you're on a long weekend. What we have now is not it. And so like I texted my fragrance house. I was like, can we come see you tomorrow? Like, I'm going to bring Nick, etc. So like we can't make it happen tomorrow, but like I'm coming back in 2 weeks. We're going to go there. We're going to pick the scents and they're going to be perfect because they're going to be like elevated. Like Actually, you guys are my favorite type of clients because I can just be like, okay, just let me pick for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I told Mary this morning, like, look, don't even waste 10 days sending us a sample and getting a review. If you think it's good enough,
that's the right one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I want to know what you think.
Sure.
Kind of. But then, like, like I don't really.
You're like, your opinion doesn't matter, but
okay.
I want you to.
But to be fair, I've spent, I'm going to say maybe $100 to hundreds of thousands of dollars on like every product that ever existed. So, like, I feel like I know what's amazing. We're working on a project for Nick that is just like, I kind of was like not excited about it, but I got it and I like fucking love it. It's one of my favorite things. And I don't say that lightly. Like I see lots of things.
Yeah.
And the smell is amazing. The product is amazing. And I took it from the lab and took it home.
And used it yourself.
Yeah, used it myself.
I didn't get my sample.
Wow.
He did. He wanted it and I was going to give it to him. But then I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. So I can't. It's mine. It's mine now.
Okay, I want to move on to something a little bit different. So, you grew obviously Texas Beauty Labs.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up moving on from that business and started another contract manufacturer called Cosmos Labs, which you're running now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's where Long Weekend is made today.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, the day her non-compete expired and the day she started Cosmos Labs, that morning I texted you asking what I should do with this Long Weekend, container that was coming my way. You said, call Mary. An hour before Mary texted me to catch up and it was perfect. And she was like, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, just send it over here, babe. We got it. Like, just come on. We don't have a loading dock, but we'll figure it out. Cause like the place I rented didn't have a loading dock. It was a mess, but I was like, we'll figure it out. Send it here. Cause like, what are you going to do with it?
Right. I was asking Moiz if he had a spot in Brooklyn I could send it to.
I'm not sure what you think I'm doing. I've got a random warehouse space in different cities. I'm not the drug dealer that Marian suggested earlier. That's crazy. Yeah, the first place that she rented in Pflugerville, or that we worked at, she didn't have a loading dock either. So we had to lift gate it, which was like $40 on YRC every time you did it.
It still is.
And then when you moved, I was like, hey, are you going to get a loading dock? Because that'll save me probably, $80 or $120 a week. And you're like, yeah, there's a loading dock here.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, as you've been in contract manufacturing, it's sort of grown a lot since 2014 to today. What makes good clients? Native was clearly a good client for you because we grew on the back of your ability to grow. And I want to talk a little bit more about how you helped us grow. But before we get to that, what makes a good client for you today?
I would say there's two kind of pathways. My favorite one, I have two favorites. One is guys like you guys that are marketing guys that know what you're doing in marketing, what you're doing, how to sell products, that kind of thing, because then I get to do whatever I want. Then I'm like, you guys give me guidance. You're like, I kind of want these products, or I want some deodorant, or we want to do seasonals, and we'll have the conversation. And then I'm like, great, I'm going to get, for pumpkin spice, I'm going to get 4 versions of pumpkin spice. I'm going to show you my favorite 2. And then I get to pick, and then I'm so controlling. That's my favorite thing. That's a really great client because I am really good at what I do. And so if I start having a lot of people
cooks in the kitchen,
then it becomes harder and it becomes longer. Eventually we get there, but it's a very long process, but it doesn't have to be. My second favorite is people who come with very intense product briefs, right? Because they know what they want. It's not like, oh, I think I kind of like this oil, or maybe I like this, or, that kind of thing. They know what they want. They know the price point. They know the components going to go in, that we can get that done really quickly too.
And are they bringing formulas to you primarily?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're like, they'll be like, I want a face cream for mature skin. I want it to have squalene in it. I don't want to have hyaluronic acid or whatever it is. And then, then we're like, great, this is some great firm. They're going to put it in a pump with this and, and they want to order 5,000.
Yeah.
So then, that lets us know we can't have any, materials that have really large MOQs that we have to buy because we don't want to sit and get bad. It gives us a lot of information. And so, but some people, when they're starting brands and they don't have the experience, they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's something we're working on, having a stopgap in there to have those people, to help those people out. Right. But it turns out a lot of times those people they have this idea for a product, but it's not even really, they don't know how to sell it either. So then it becomes really hard. I have a really hard time saying no because I like to help people.
Sure.
I like to help people fulfill their dreams. And so I feel like a dick being like, this isn't going to sell. This is a terrible idea for a product. And also I'm not going to make any money.
Yeah.
And so my 2023 goals are to learn how to say no. We were working on it when you were in Austin.
Yeah. I now have a response that I'll send to people that basically says no in a nice way.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that.
Yeah.
Too.
What did you say?
So it basically says,
you should just write, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
But it basically says to complete.
Let's spell it backwards.
They're like,
to be candid, my call is packed, blah, blah, blah. I have so many projects going on.
Yeah.
Basically tells them nice. No in a way.
Yeah. It is really tough. I feel like you probably, I'm sure all of us get a bunch of emails where we're just like, look, this isn't a good use of anyone's time. I tried to take one of these calls recently, and this girl's
a mentor pass call.
No, it wasn't. It was just some random email, and I was like, "Look, I want to help this person out." They're like, just graduated college and we're starting an e-commerce business, and they were like, I'm selling kids clothing, and I'm at $200 a month, and I'm like, there is so much work to do. I don't know how to get you from 200 to 10,000 a month.
Right. But I will say this because I had Cosmos Vita, which was a vitamin brand. I had between my non-compete, I couldn't do beauty and I couldn't do manufacturing.
Yeah.
So I had Cosmos Vita. It was a vitamin brand. I thought it was a great idea. I was super excited. I've seen everybody build these brands and I was like, I can do it too.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But I was in New York. I had lunch with Moiz at Balthazar and we're sitting out there and he was like, just pull up your budget, pull up all these things. He looked at it on my phone on a spreadsheet and he was like, shut this business down now. And I was like, what? And he was like, shut it down now. And honestly, that's the best thing you did for me because I trust you and I know that you know what I mean? And so that it was the best thing. So being clear is kind, Right.
Yeah.
And so I try to work on that. That was really a kindness for me because I could be like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Let's cut it off. We did. And then I was like, you know what I'm really good at? Beauty contract manufacturing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like when my non-compete was up, I was like, I'll do that again.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like I'm
Yeah.
super passionate about it.
So one thing you were starting to say was products that do well. What are so you've probably manufactured hundreds of different types of products.
Yes.
There's obviously products that people know really well, a cleanser, body wash, deodorant. What are other products that do well that kind of shocked you?
Products that do well that shocked me. You know what I'm getting a lot of, and I'm just not mature enough to handle, is sexual wellness products. So I don't know.
Enough to handle.
I'm not.
Giggle?
I get really red in the face. I'm 45 years old. And I'm married.
Yeah, sure. And have been for
I don't know, what is it? A long time, 20 something years. I should know. Damn it. Valentine's Day tomorrow. I don't even know. I don't know. I legit was on a call. I don't know. This might have to be edited out. On a call with these two younger girls, and it's these younger millennial types that are wanting to talk about sexual wellness, and I'm like, okay, I can do it. And so everyone is in our room. It's an open office and the computer's here, so they're we want to work on basically an after intimacy repair ointment. Because we were in Italy and, everyone at the wedding, we were at a wedding and everyone's hooking up with everyone just all day, all night. Everyone's hooking up with everyone. And so we needed an ointment. And I thought, here's a hot tip, girls, go to bed. You could stop doing that and just go take a fucking nap. You know what I mean? But instead I was like, oh yeah, one time I was in Italy and no, just kidding. No, but I just was I'm red right now.
Yeah,
I just can't handle it. And I'm getting a lot of it, you guys. It's it's a new category that's up and coming.
Interesting.
And I think I can do it. I think I can do it. But it's just when I get stories like that, I'm I don't know what to say. Did you like it? Are we I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you say to that? What would you say to that?
I'd say, what is the ointment supposed to do? I'm a little lost on what that ointment is for, but
it's if you, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's if you're rubbed raw, maybe this doesn't happen to men, but for women, you can get rubbed raw and then you want that to soothe your section.
Okay.
Like an aloe type thing?
Yeah, kind of like a balmy type thing to make we're all okay here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know you've worked a lot, but you're time off.
Time to hibernate.
Yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd have somebody else take that call.
I know, right?
I'd say, great. We're going to charge you $12 a unit.
Yeah.
$12 a unit.
Yeah. How many do you need?
Okay. That's fair.
But so is that you said that category is up and coming? Mm-hmm. I would imagine you do a lot of deodorants right now, based on the fact that you've done a lot of deodorants and have a great reputation for that.
Yes. Yeah.
And did a fantastic job at Native with it. Mm-hmm. What are other are you still doing a lot of deodorants? What are other categories? You mentioned sexual wellness is one.
Yes.
For me, I have a tough time seeing sexual wellness as a category that takes off in a massive way. I can't imagine Target being let me put a big end cap right here of sexual wellness products.
Okay, do you know that's happening at Sephora?
They're putting big end caps for sexual wellness?
They're putting big vibrators everywhere. And I don't like that either. What is wrong with me? Is it because I'm Southern? Is it because I'm a Southern lady?
I'm not even saying I don't like. I guess I just never thought that the sexual wellness products at Target would be a place because they're trying to be a little bit more family oriented, for lack of a better term.
That's true.
And so I feel like at Target you're not going to be let me walk my kids up this place, and they're
right.
Having too much raw sex in Italy, here are a bunch of products for you, I think Target would be no, we're not going to allow that sign. Right here.
Yeah, no. No, I agree with you. I think it's kind of a trend right now. And I'm telling you, out of 10 phone calls, 3 of them are about that, which is a lot to me.
Yeah, that is a lot.
But we do facial care. We're really good at facial care. We have a chemist that is really talented in facial care. That's what we like to do. That's where we get our best
Indian
margins.
Guy too.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. That's where you get your best margins.
That's where we get our best margins, right? Tiny things that cost you can charge $100 for.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the questions I always wondered was, you go and buy all these raw materials to make skincare and or deodorants or whatever it is. And then you mix those in, you're the raw ingredients sit on your balance sheet and that you're the owner of the raw ingredients. When I was working at Native, you were never Moiz, you need to buy more coconut oil. You bought the coconut oil.
Yeah.
But then how much of that like gets accidentally wasted, I guess? Because
we're very careful about that because while I love to spend money, I'm also super aware of waste.
Yeah.
And not because of the environment, I wish it was, but it's because like I hate wasting money.
Yeah.
So like Chase worked at Dell for a long time. And so they did just in time. So he was an electrical engineer. So like the building he worked at, like they had all these 18-wheelers just stacked up. And at like 9 a.m. and at noon, they would sell the parts like for the orders that came in at that time to Dell and like literally like wheel them out. Dell would take, do you know about this? Dell would take like, so
possession of them and then book them on the balance sheet, but they'd use them right away.
Yes.
So they're basically sitting in a truck owned by somebody else. As soon as you take them off the truck, they're owned by you.
And it was by necessity that we tried to build our business that way. It couldn't be exactly like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't have enough money to buy 4 55-gallon barrels of coconut oil when we started.
Yeah.
So we would buy just in time. So like, let's say you placed an order for, 100,000 deodorants.
Yeah.
We produce a buy list and it's like, you need X amount of coconut oil for that. So then we do the conversion to barrels and then, it's like, 10 barrels or whatever. So then I'm buying, like, I'm also a hoarder. And so I'll be like, I'm going to buy 12 barrels, but not over.
Yeah.
And so then it gets like degraded. What's that word?
Decremented.
Decremented.
Yeah.
Decremented. Decremented through our system.
Yeah.
So meaning when we're done with that 100,000, we still realize we have these 2 barrels here, but it goes to the next thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
you were doing that even like, Native went from 500 units of deodorant a week to 21,000 a day with you.
Yes.
You were doing that even at 21,000 a day. You were like, great. What's the buy list for this 21,000 a day?
Yes.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Makes sense. It's just about,
And we would even have, I found it the other day, I have weird like worksheets that I remember from back then, but like we had to go count. So we did a weekly count because that system works pretty well, but like, you still have to go back and put eyes on the materials.
Sure.
Especially because Native had like 11 materials or 12 materials in it, like, and we were making it every single day.
Yeah.
And so we knew we needed to we always had to have 4 like pallets of sterile alcohol. You know what I mean? Like we always knew we needed that once we got to that level.
Yeah.
Now with Long Weekend, as it's growing, right, we start buying the materials like in smaller amounts because we don't want it to go bad. We don't know how often you're going to reorder, hopefully all the time, but once we get into the cadence of knowing what you want, I will start taking that risk to buy more of those specialty materials.
And so was it like 10% wasted just in terms of like, no, it wasn't even 10%. It was less than that.
10% was like, I need to buy Chanel's with that money.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have priorities for that money.
Yeah.
So like, like and in fact, we hand poured Native forever.
Yeah.
And our QC, like, because we were so like picky about it, was less than 1%. Like it just.
The quality control issues that you had were less than 1%. Wow.
Yes. Now that being said too, like, I guess it doesn't really count. Sometimes we would have a batch that like, cause it's anhydrous, meaning it doesn't have any water in it. And like water would get into the tank, which means it could contaminate it. So like for me also like that, I will scrap it. I'll scrap a batch. I don't care how much money I lose. Like it is not worth it to have any sort of like issue in contamination.
Yeah. I remember you calling me, several times over 5 years being like, hey, we were supposed to deliver this. We're supposed to make this today and put it on a truck tomorrow. We need to scrap this thing.
Yeah. I mean, and like, I would much rather take that hit with you than like, oh, we sent this out to 21,000 people and now they have mold in their armpits.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I mean? Like that is like my worst nightmare, most horrifying thing that could ever happen.
So we know retention is the yin to the yang of acquisition. And we know about email, we know about SMS, we know about all these other channels. But one thing I think we don't talk about a lot is push notifications and mobile apps. And this is where Tapcart comes in. If you saw the Shopify Editions update that just came out, they talked a ton about their app, Shop, which is doing a ton for merchants. They're seeing higher AOVs, they're seeing higher conversion rates. And we've actually seen the same with our clients who use a Tapcart app. The beauty is you can't even tell it's built by Tapcart, but Tapcart essentially is the CMS. It's the Shopify of the mobile app. They build it in Tapcart, they get it live, and they can start sending traffic either through their email list. On their site, there's a little pop-up that says, open the app versus looking at it on the site. And it's been pretty amazing to see how special customers feel in their mobile app. They get push notifications, they get customized notifications based on when they last bought. If I bought Native deodorant and I'm, 40 days out, I'll get a push notification that says, hey, you're probably running out. Click here, get a discount or whatever. Click here to buy real quick. I think it's something that our limited supply listeners should check out. And they can actually get 2 months free at tapcart.com/limited. So check it out, build an app, send it to us. We'll review it, DM it to me or Moiz, and we'll see you on the other side.
Well, one of my favorite stories is that, we used a bunch of baking soda in our, it was Arm & Hammer. First, it was complete Arm & Hammer, and Mary would get it by ordering Instacart from Costco and bringing in, bags and bags of this 50-pound stuff. Is that right?
It's so true. And I don't know if you know this part of the story. So then when Chase started working for the company, my husband.
Yeah, you sent him.
I sent him because he also was trying to save money because that's how he is. And I'm like, just let them do it, but whatever. So he would go and he was getting it at Costco, and an Instacart person came up to him and was like, oh, you got Mary buried. And he was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you have to get all the baking soda. And he was like, you do not know how hard I've been married. Basically, for life.
How many how often was that delivery and how many bags was it? Do you remember the cost or anything?
I remember we ordered 50 bags at a time because other than that, it seemed cruel.
50 bags of baking soda from Costco via Instacart at a time.
13.5 pounds.
Okay.
So
okay.
But I did tip 25%, which is nice, above and beyond, but I felt bad.
Did you bill that back to Moiz?
No. Well, I mean,
ultimately,
yes,
sure.
But
that's how supplies work.
It is. But I felt bad because I had to look those people in the face when they brought it to me.
Yeah, right.
But then it was actually when P&G came. They basically were like, "There's a better way here." Or no, maybe it was when Jordan came.
It was it was him because he was like, "Look, one of the reasons that you're not producing we're hand pouring products, so we'll always get a little bit of variability, but overall, I thought we did. We're doing 21,000 of these a day." And we probably had, less than one issue a quarter, I would say, which is, really hard to achieve. But one of the things that we got this process engineer to come by and do an audit. And he, believe it or not, my friend Sam Lang introduced me to him randomly. I tried to recruit him for 4 years to join Native, and he's like, no, this sounds like he's like, what are you doing with all of these deodorants as well? But he worked, I worked at Tinyco in San Francisco, which was in the Standard Oil building on the 19th floor. On the 20th floor was the headquarters of Benefit Cosmetics. And he was a process engineer at Benefit. It was fantastic. Once in a while, I'd be like, here are some deodorants I have. I'd be like, let's go to lunch. I'm like, here's a bunch of deodorants. What do you think? And he's like, these are fine. Then I finally flew him out to Austin, and he's like, one of the things that when you're buying Arm & Hammer baking soda is that is it baking soda or baking powder? It's baking soda. Okay, yeah. He's like, the particles could be different sizes. And so he actually brought me samples. He's like, look, here are particles that are finely ground, and here are particles that are not finely ground, and here's a mix of both. Put your hands in, and you could feel the difference instantly.
It's weird.
And he's like, when you buy from an Arm & Hammer bag at Costco, you could get any of these things because they're not promising anything.
Yeah.
But if you order direct from the supplier, you can choose what level of granular micro powder or what level of granular size you prefer, whether it's 5 nanometers or 15 nanometers or something like that. And so he's like, just be consistent with it and you'll have a more consistent product. And I was like,
interesting.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And the reality is no one, very few people know this. I think at any contract manufacturer, very few people know this. It's only when you work with a process engineer who's worked at a P&G or a Benefit where they're like, okay, this kind of stuff can make a difference.
Yeah.
And they bring that type of lens when they're auditing an organization.
Yeah, it was super interesting to us too, because basically what the Arm & Hammer does, as far as I understand, is they take the aggregate of what's left over from all the different particle sizes and put it in the bags. It's for swimming pools, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Use it for chemicals for a swimming pool. It's super interesting.
So you're buying 50 bags, 13 pounds a bag. Do you remember the cost of that? Do you remember what it was from Instacart?
Shit, I can't remember. I feel like I don't know, $500, $600 or something like that. I think it's $8 a bag.
Okay, and you ordering once a week, or
$7.59?
Well, how often were you ordering?
We usually do 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow. That's a lot of Instacarts.
Somebody got Mary buried hard.
They did. I know.
Yeah.
No, they did. I felt bad about it. And I was like, can we change the name to Chase Berry or Ashley Bender or something? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What's been some of your favorite, favorite products to work on outside of deodorant? Like, what do you personally find a lot of fun? I'll tell you, like, when I first came to Austin and we were combing through the container, you picked up a deodorant and you're like, this weight is wrong.
Yeah.
Without even opening it.
Yeah.
And we got a scale and you were right. And I feel like you were in your element there.
Yeah.
What are other parts of this contract manufacturing business that you find a lot of joy in?
One of the funny things about me is, like, if you were to be like, how much is a gallon of milk? I would be like, $15. I'd be like, $2.50. I have zero idea.
Yeah.
How much is the price of glycerin? 10 cents an ounce. How much is it for organic glycerin? 12 cents an ounce shipped. Like, where do you get it? This. Like, I can like remember those things. Like, in life, I don't know. But it is my element. Like, I can look at something and be like, because also I've done so much deodorant and we've worked so much on fill sizes. So, like, you remember with Native, we spun up the maybe it wasn't Nate, it was someone else. We spun up the elevator to have a smaller fill size to make it cheaper to ship. So, like, you know, all of that, I can just... That
was us. You might have done it with other people, but we started at 2.9 and moved to 2.65 with you.
Yes, that's right. So... Yeah, it's just one of my skills. I don't know. I don't have that many skills. That's one of them. To be like, well, and also, like, it was also with your bars. So the people that you bought the business from were like weighing the bars with the box.
Right.
And I'm like, this is not right. And then I was like, Nick, like, I felt so bad because, like, I felt like I was like really like shitting all over your like project
because what we need.
I know, but like, I hate doing that. I only like to bring joy and happiness and not like, this is wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it tough to hire someone? Like, you know, I remember when we were doing the hand pouring for Native, you had 150 people or at least 100 people in that facility. You know, you moved from like 800 square feet to 16,000 square feet or something like that. You walked in, the first time I walked in, I was like, this place is massive. You know, 6 months later, I walked in, I'm like, there's no room in this spot anymore.
Yeah.
Was it hard to hire that many people and manage that many people? And like, you know, that's a very, quick change for an organization from a headcount perspective.
It was at first because we were hiring people at $10 an hour and we were hiring people through Craigslist. Like that's how we were hiring people. And so, you know, Courtney R would call in and be like, I threw up. I can't come in today. Like all these calls would start coming in at like 6 a.m. because that's when it started. And so I shared an office with Ashley, my operations person. And so she'd start getting these calls and I'd be like, and then she'd have to redo the schedule. We did the schedule on dry erase boards. Courtney R was responsible for making 600 deodorants that day. So we'd erase her fucking name and like put those against everyone else. So then I was like, why? Because I was like, $10 an hour is pretty good, right? I thought for manufacturing, but then I read this article about how a living wage is different than minimum wage. And I never realized that. I don't know if that makes me like a jerk or whatever, but like I didn't know that was a thing. And so I was like, what's the living wage in Austin? It was $12.75 at the time. And so I was like, you know, I'm going to start paying people $12.75 because I can't walk through this place and look all of these people in the eye and know that they're struggling.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, like happily making money.
Yeah.
But these people doing my, I know. Yeah. Yes, doing all the things. And all of these people like are barely making ends meet. That sucks. Like I can't do that. So we raised it to $12.75 and then we just kind of like got a good group of people and then they start getting their friends and all that kind of thing. So I think it was that. We also do a lot of things like we do birthday, like every month we have a birthday lunch.
Yeah.
We still do it. So like, you know, for everyone's birthday in January, we have a lunch and we all eat together and there are a lot of Spanish speakers. So like I'm trying to learn Spanish because like I also super want to communicate with them because like they're amazing people, you know? And so I think it's that. I think that we have people that have worked for us, you know, when it was Texas Beauty Labs worked for us for 3 years. That's like unheard of in manufacturing.
Yeah.
But it's because we treat them like if I get a sniff of someone being ugly to someone else, I will rip them up by their ear and toss their mean ass out the door.
Yeah.
Like I had someone that we were firing, like go through, open the big door to that big room and start yelling racial slurs to all the people in there. And I did what we call a hot Cheeto, where like I get really red here and I get this ungodly voice and I'm like, I need you to get out of the building. And like, I like start like, I'm like about to physically assault her because I was like, you cannot talk to people this way. Yeah. I will not allow it. This is my house.
Sure.
Like I still get hot about it. Like so mad because like these are people that come here, they work hard and they deserve to be treated like nicely and fairly. And like, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
I feel like culture is so overlooked. It's very well managed, I think, in jobs where there's like physical labor. Like I think the companies that, whether it's a contract manufacturer, a moving company, installation company, like the companies that manage culture there really well grow really quickly.
Yeah.
And they're able to grow, in a way where they're not, where people don't feel like, oh, my job might be gone tomorrow or things like that. But it's not looked at the same way in a lot of like, non-physical labor jobs.
I would agree with that. Because like I want everyone to enjoy coming to work. And we have a strict no assholes rule for like anyone that works there or any clients that we work with. In fact, I fired 2 clients recently because they were like not nice to like the people working on their account. And I was like, I would not have done that like last year, the year before, but like 2023, I'm like, no, I'm not going to allow like people to come in and like treat other, they wouldn't say it to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not going to see, if you're going to treat someone else that, I don't know, I just won't handle it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think you mentioned that you raised your wages from like $10 an hour to $12.75, and I think that's so. My parents, whenever I hire, my parents are like, "Why are you paying more than like $45,000?" And I was like, "You don't understand, like that if you're paying what everyone else pays, there's no like loyalty. People are ready to change jobs really easily. If you pay like the extra 20%, people are like, wow, I'm being treated fairly and well and equitably, and like this company really values my time. And if that 20% is something you can afford, it dramatically makes a difference in that person's quality of life and that person's loyalty and treatment of the business back to you. I think there are some businesses that probably can't, like Walmart. I'm not sure if Walmart could give a 20% raise to everybody and still make money. I don't know what their economics look like, but businesses like ours and probably yours or like, is like where you're like, look, I can pay you a little bit more to show loyalty and engender that type of good relationship and goodwill with you. And I think it's so important to do.
It is. Well, now like living wage in Austin is $16.25. And that's the lowest that you can make for us now. And like, that doesn't make me the cheapest. I'm never going to be the cheapest. But I will fly out to New York, even though I've just been here 2 weeks later for one meeting to make sure that long weekend is taken care of. Do you know what I mean? Like that's important to me. And so I think, it's give and take, and I'm not everybody's like solution, right? Like not everyone like wants to be buried, but some people do.
Okay, great. We don't have that much time left, so I want to go back to some of these questions that we've got on here. One is, this is a cop out. What's your favorite product? But let me not ask that. What's your favorite memory of running, Texas Beauty Labs or Cosmos Labs? Like, what's your favorite memory or last 20 years doing this?
You were there. We were at the Inc. We were on the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies.
Oh my God.
And we were like 261 or something. We were really high.
You were or Moiz was?
I was.
No, we weren't on it.
Texas Beauty Labs. So you would have been, but you just didn't fly. But like we were. And so I'm not super good on a computer. I'm like, okay. But like I took all the pictures from when I started it in my house. And like I made this video montage. And I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed the whole time I was making it. And then we had this big party. Moiz happened to be there. And I got so drunk that I had drink spilled all down my shirt and you could see it. And I was so drunk I could barely even say a word. In fact, Moiz kept trying to feed me more like water and food. And I kept being like, I'm fine. But like I sure did get up in front of that whole group of people. And it was like, so make me cry now. My heart, like the people that worked on that company, the reason that company worked is the people that worked there. It has nothing to do with me. It's everyone that came together and made it work. Same with Cosmos Labs. But like my heart was 10 times the size that day. And like watching that video of how we grew, that's like, I think that's my favorite memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Will you send that? Like, I'd love to share that video if you don't mind. I don't know if you want to share that video.
I can totally share that video.
Great.
Yeah. I'll have to take a few
remember the video a little bit. I remember you being very drunk very well.
Yeah.
And I think when I walked in, I was like, okay.
You're like, I know.
Someone's been having shots before everyone else got here.
I know, I did. I got there for like the sole purpose of like, I am getting super drunk. And my kids were even there. And they're
I remember, I remember Bo was wearing like a seersucker suit, actually.
He was.
And I was like, wow, this 8-year-old looks sharp.
I know.
You should run for office right now.
I know. Yeah, they did.
That is a good memory. That's a really good one.
It was. I was so proud of the team at that moment that my heart is today 10 times its size thinking about it.
Okay. Let me ask you a much tougher and worse question, which is, what is your least favorite memory?
Selling the business. Also could cry about that.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. And so I really believe that. But that 2020, besides the pandemic, besides all of it, just selling the business and how all of that worked out just is my least favorite part. But bright side, I learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we're back to the spite building.
Yeah.
And
that was probably the first time too you had a quote unquote business partner. Right?
Yeah.
After you sold the business?
Yeah. I'm not fit to have a business partner.
Yeah.
I myself am not fit. I should know that about myself. I'm too wild. I do crazy shit all the time. I wildly am let's do this. And then that's not fair or nice to a business partner,
Yeah.
And no
you
one
remind me a lot of the entrepreneurs that move quickly, and their strength is actually the core team around them, the people that report directly into them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't necessarily, you'll obviously make sure there's a good culture for the rest of the team, but your job is to basically move quickly and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then your team around you executes that on your behalf.
Yes.
And you can keep going forward.
Yeah. I mean, y'all know Ashley, she's she's the COO now. She's business partner. When I started this new business, I was she has to be a partner. I can't do this without her. I literally can't, because she makes everything happen. We have a few other people like that. And it's just, you're right. That's exactly my MO. I know that I can be Moiz, this is not working, but I'm sure going to make sure it works. And then I go back to them and then they make it work. Mm-hmm. That's why it's the team that does it, right? Totally. I can't take the credit.
I think you're not taking enough credit. I remember there was one time where I was hey, I need to increase production. Mm-hmm. And I think my sales rep was told you later on, I heard the story, was we can't do this. This is too hard. The system's going to break. And you're this is our biggest client. We're not saying no under any circumstance. Yeah. And, that requires, I agree with what Nik said. I think your other thing that may make it harder to be your business partner is you have so much risk appetite and so much I'm going to run into this wall and maybe it'll fall down and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And if it does, it'll be great. And if not, I'm going to pretend I didn't run into the wall and I'm going to run into another one.
Yeah.
And other people are wait, how much is this going to cost? And you're we're just going to run through walls.
Yeah.
The cost is a byproduct of running through walls. Our mission is to run through walls.
Yes. I agree.
Cost is a secondary byproduct.
I don't even know if it's secondary. I feel it's wait, that's also why you need to be my.
Yeah.
What do you think, B2B, what do you think's if you had to give advice to somebody else who runs a manufacturer or a marketing agency or whatever software, what is your best piece of advice for them to retain clients?
I would say when you say you're a partner, everyone says, oh, we're partners, we're partnership, blah, blah. Be a fucking partner. Mm-hmm. Don't just say you're a partner, fucking do it. Fly back 2 weeks later to New York. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I have meetings all that week. Doesn't matter. I'm going to make time. It's important to me. I'm your partner. I want to make sure your business is working. With you, it was you need to increase. Someone says no, I'm fuck that. We're doing it.
Yeah, we were on the phone all the time. That was a genuine partnership.
Yeah, you have to be a genuine partner and not just be oh, we're all partners. No, be a partner. Do it.
Show up.
Make it happen. That is, I've been told before, I only have built a business. The only businesses I build are on Charisma. It's kind of offensive.
The only businesses you built are what?
On Charisma. On Charisma. Yeah, I built my last business on Charisma alone, is what I was told. Which, is kind of a compliment and also kind of a dig, I'm an idiot. But no, right though? No, I built that business. I mean, I didn't. My team built that business on sure fucking will.
Right.
Yeah, I remember there were so many things that you guys did. I remember we were we need more product, and you're okay, we're going to do Saturday shift.
I would
and
do
you
those
push
all
your
the
team
time.
to Saturday shifts, and then you do it for 1 or 2 weeks in a row, and then you're look, I can't do it for 3 weeks in a row. I need to give these guys a break.
Yes,
and then you would you're look, we don't want to make 2 cents of deodorant on the same day because we might fuck something up.
Yeah,
and Nik, what these guys would do was. Finally, I got them to do that. They would put those bank lines, those things that separate you at a bank.
Yeah.
They'd put that down the middle of their building to separate people who are making different scents. Mm-hmm. And then, let's say you were making coconut and vanilla, they'd put a brown sheet of paper and tape it to your back. on your clothing.
So
they're like,
yeah,
if you walk onto the purple side where they're making lavender and rose, we're going to know and you need to get the fuck back to your side.
Yeah.
To be like very careful about making sure that we didn't accidentally pour the coconut and vanilla in the lavender and rose, or the lavender and rose in the coconut and vanilla.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, that's the type of like, I thought there was like hard work, and then there was ridiculous ingenuity as well. Like we tried, we were hand pouring these deodorants, and that was fine at 500 units a week.
Right.
Then we were like, okay, I remember the first time I visited you in Pflugerville, you were like, we have a machine to start pouring these deodorants. And I was like, great. Finally, we're going to be able to like reduce costs and make this faster and all these and scale. And like, I looked at the machine and it was probably the size of, it's probably like this big. Like one of those old, camcorders.
We're going to do so good.
And, I was like, hey, what's going on with the machine for the next couple of weeks? And Mary's like, it's not really working well. We're just going to keep hand pouring it. Then we're like, okay, we need to find another machine. And, they found the machine that filled like chicken pot pies.
Yeah.
So it could fill really thick products like chicken pot pie. If you're making chicken pot pie, you make the crust and then you need to fill all the carrots and peas and everything.
Yeah.
So it'd squirt all of that stuff in chicken pot pies. They're like, this is going to work for your deodorant. Because the unique thing about Native was it was a thick formula with no water, poured at a very low temperature.
Yes.
Like today, Native probably because the formula's been changed, it probably gets poured at 150 degrees.
Right.
Back then, it got poured at 110 to 112.
Yep.
Really low temperature.
Yes.
And so as a result, a lot of these machines didn't work because they're used to pouring liquids, not like kind of things that are turning into solids.
Yeah.
So then there were all these chicken pot pie things. And I remember like us going through the line doing this thing because I flew in for the test. And I was like, this is not, I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll see.
Terrible. It did not work. And like, I still like Chase, my husband's in charge of machines, like for the new business.
Yeah.
He tries to talk to me about it. And I'm like, you know what? I just like find someone else to talk to about this.
Yeah.
Approved, whatever you want to buy, but I do not want to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
Like scarred from that.
And so I think that was a lot of like risk appetite on your part and like ingenuity on your part and like creativity and like, I remember you'd call me and be like, you never operated with contracts. You're like, hey, Moiz, look.
Till today. We don't have a contract.
I fucking hate contracts.
Yeah. You're like, hey, Moiz, we need to move to a bigger facility. Like, there's no contract here. Are you planning on sticking with us? Because we're moving from 800 square feet to 16,000 square feet. And then you do it and you're like, look, I need to close Thursday and Friday so I can move all of my stuff to this new place. And so it'd be like 2 days of non-operations in order to be able to move her stuff. And on Monday, I was never like, Monday, I hope she can operate this. I was like, Monday, she's going to operate. And like, you never let us down in that respect.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing. And when people say like, what was the secret to Native success? I often point to you where I'm like, look, I can't imagine another contract manufacturer having the risk appetite. You went from a facility that's the size of this room to a size, 20x this room.
Yep.
You did it like, without missing dates. You did it on like, we at some point we just had a relationship where we're like the right thing is going to happen when there's a problem. Like when there was a problem and like somebody could push their finger down all the way to the bottom. I was like, I'm not sure if this is because we sent you a bad formula or because you guys didn't make it right. And we're like, let's split the cost. And I was like, great. We like when Hurricane Harvey went through Texas, we're like, look, we want to donate deodorants. Will you split the cost with us?
And
you're like, done.
Yeah, I love that.
And like there was just a trust that we developed that I find is really rare in business and in life. And I thought that was what made the relationship special.
Yeah.
And I thought that was what made Native grow. Like when they're like, how can you grow this fast? If you work with a contract manufacturer if I reach out to a contract manager today and I've got a bunch of credibility at this point, they still are not able to expand as fast as you.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, our machines are spoken for. This is going to take time. We have like, something's going to happen and you're going to find a way to make things happen.
Yeah.
And a bunch of these other bozos don't. And I don't know why that's the case so frequently.
It just becomes a big company. I mean, we were starting to be that way when I sold the company, right?
Yeah.
It was starting to be more difficult, right? If you weren't Native.
Yeah.
Right. And so I see it, but I have a plan, for that fix. Like I know what I'm going to do when we get to that point.
Well, wonderful. I guess, I'm saying all that to say thank you. Like we couldn't have built what we built without you. And so I think it's awesome. I really appreciate it.
Well, I always tell people, you changed my life. And like, I always tell people like building Native was like the ride of my life. And like, I loved it so much. I loved it so much. It was so fun. I was crying under the table a whole lot. I was like getting drunk at a bar a whole lot, but it was thrilling.
Yeah.
It was just thrilling. And it was so fun. And I mean, you changed my life. You changed my children's life. You changed the life of 125 people that got to work at a place that's going to treat them well, that pays them well, that cares about their family, that when we find out so-and-so got pregnant and her baby daddy left her, we would give her $3,000.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's what you did.
Well, I think that's what you did because I don't know about any of those things.
I know.
So I think that's, to be clear, I think you're the one who did those things. And I think that you don't respect that growth enough. And it was a ride of a lifetime for me as well. I had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
But it did feel like together we could conquer the world. I was just people would be like, what about this other deodorant company that's launching? And I'm like, it doesn't even matter. Everyone else is irrelevant. The path to our dominating the market, there's nothing in front of it. It felt like there was literally nothing in front of us because from an operational standpoint, things were going well. Mm-hmm. From a marketing standpoint, things were going well. I was like, there's no competitor that's going to make us trip. Yeah. They're all completely irrelevant in the marketplace. And even they know it. I was like, even they must know it. When this natural deodorant, people are like, what about this natural deodorant company? I was like, that's irrelevant. And so do they. Yeah. Secret could launch it. Nobody gives a shit. Know it's going to be a disaster. Right.
Yeah.
And that was because of you. I never had to worry about that kind of the operation side of things. And to go from 500 units to a week to 21,000 a day in 18 months, I can't imagine anybody else doing that.
Yeah.
And so that was great.
Yeah. I loved it. It was thrilling. I'm ready to do it with you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I'm right, let's do it, you guys.
Okay, if you were launching a brand, which it sounds like you're not going to do again, aside from sexual wellness, I feel like I asked this again, and maybe you mentioned facial care because I think that's something that you thought you were really good at. Let me ask you in a different lens. Mm-hmm. If someone's listening to, because generally it's not contract manufacturers listening to this, it's entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. What should they launch from a skincare or beauty space? Whether or not you make it, what do you think is good?
SPF is a big fucking deal right now. Everybody wants to have SPF. We don't do that, but other people do. I would say, I really think it's important to pay attention to margins. That's almost the most important thing because if you work with a contract manufacturer that you love, a formulator that you love, etc., you have to have the margins in order to support the business. Mm-hmm, right. Sure. And so I've worked with a lot of people that feel like they can get it done within these margins and that doesn't work. Even if it's a good product, even if it's a good category, the margins just don't work out.
Yeah.
So I think that I know that that's not really what you asked, but I think that that's really kind of the most important thing to think about as for launching anything in the skincare brand, because there are a billion moisturizers, a billion everything. There's a billion everything, and so that's what I think can make people succeed.
How should people anticipate margin getting better then? And I asked this because I remember a Native this happened, which was when you started, how should they anticipate margins getting better over the course of if you triple your business, do you get better? When should you ask for price discounts from Mary Berry?
I think I'm different because I start to be really honest about we're really now we're buying truckloads of coconut oil. We have literally with Native, we disrupted the supply of high melt shea butter in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when we start buying in those volumes, I don't feel good about taking all of that margin. And so I'll be like, hey, we can give you a lower price, right? We can we can change this. Or consequently, you would start being like, can I get a lower price? And I'd start to look and I'd be like, okay, yeah, we are getting better margins on this or that or the other thing. I think that working with someone that you trust that will be honest with you about that.
Yeah. That's a great answer to that.
Yeah. Do you think so? I'm like, do you think
so? Okay, great. Any other questions that we want to ask, Nick?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for coming on, Mary. This is probably the second podcast you've done.
Oh yeah, no, then it was just over Zoom.
Yeah, this is great.
This is awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to like this.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all are two of my favorite people in the whole world. So I was so excited to do it.
Me too. This is the first one where I was like, I'm good. I know what to ask about. And I'm like, okay, should we ask about Mary's personal P&L? What is she spending on beauty products?
I mean, it's really fun. Give me 5 quick questions.
How much you spend on your nails?
This is, I overpay her because she undercharges. She's trying to charge me $75 for this. And I'm like, Delana, no, ma'am.
Is that in Austin?
It's in Austin. And like, this takes forever. I'm in there for 3 hours. So I pay her $150.
That's
Wow.
awesome. What about extensions annually?
$10,000 a year.
That's incredible.
That is insane. Yeah.
My hair looks really good, you guys.
Your hair does look really good.
It's so good.
Actually, let me ask one more question.
Yeah.
You know, if there are people who are listening who want to start a skincare or beauty product and want to reach out to, what is like the sweet spot of when, like, you know, is your sweet spot 500 units? I hope it's not 80 anymore. Is it 500 units? Is it 5,000 units? What should they expect?
We do really good in about 5,000.
Okay.
Like if it's someone that's coming in that like has really good experience and they're just trying to like test the market. Like if you were to come to me and you have some pretty good experience. If you were to come to me and be like, I want to do this thing and I just want to run 500 to see how it works. Like obviously, yes, like 1,000 times yes.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say people like 5,000 is really good because that means that they kind of know what they're doing. They have a little bit of backing or they are self-funding and can do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we can like get the quickest results and get to market quickest.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Like probably just like email me.
Okay.
Mary@cosmos-labs.com.
Okay. Fantastic.
We got to get you a site without a dash.
I know. I don't know how.
We'll work on that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, fantastic. Mary, wonderful seeing you.
Yeah.
I love seeing you all the time.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Y'all are never going to get rid of me. Ever.
Okay, fantastic. Next episode, Nick, you and I have to talk about the Shopify updates that just dropped. You did a great Twitter post on them recently. And I saw it and it was great. And, a bunch of people looked at it, but I feel like you've got a lot more to say about it. So I'm excited to pick your brain about what happened there.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.